And Penny, you have a picture of somebody on your shirt. Tell us who that is.
This is my son, Alex, our number 2 of 4. He was 26 years old, and he passed away last January. He was at the Justice Center, and I was ever so grateful when they finally incarcerated him. And because I knew he was finally going to get off of that drug. That was the only way he was going to get off of that drug, is to be locked in a cage. I'm sorry, it's horrible. He begged me to bail him out, and I absolutely refused. I was in court as much as him. I begged the judge to keep him. He listened and said, he's not getting out of here. I will not let him out of here. And one night Alex called me at a little after 7 and said, can you come and get me? And I said, did you escape? And he said, nope. They tapped me on the shoulder and said, Mr. Hesse, we're overcrowded. You're out of here. And
wait a minute. The judge put your son, gave him a sentence of something. How much did he sentence him to?
He was sentenced to 6 months at River City.
What's River City?
It is a rehab, a court-ordered rehab.
He was sentenced to 6 months in a court-ordered rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Now, had he gotten into the rehab yet?
No.
So was he waiting? I'm wondering if he's waiting on a room,
a
bed?
His court date, he died on a Thursday. His court date to go to the rehabilitation place was that next Monday. So he died 5 days short of getting there.
Okay, so the court date's on Monday. He died on
Thursday.
But when was he released?
Several weeks prior to that, after he had been sentenced.
So he's sentenced to 6 months in rehab.
Mm-hmm. By the courts.
Placed in a cell where he can't hopefully get too many drugs.
Right.
And 7 weeks before the next court date, explain what they did again.
They just tapped him on the shoulder. He was playing chess one night, and said, Mr. Hesse, you're out of here. And he goes, what? He said, yeah, we're overcrowded. You need to go. Call for a ride.
Did they tell him to come back in 7 weeks or 6 weeks?
No,
or something?
he knew that he had to be here that following Monday.
He knew. Okay, he was supposed to. So he was going to come back to court on 7 weeks later on a Monday.
Right. I don't know if it was 7 weeks, because he was he was home probably 3 weeks. We were awaiting that Monday court date that was going to, from there, he was going to River City because he had already been sentenced by the judge. So I don't even know if you or I could count down the days of when we were going back to this place. And especially somebody who was struggling with addiction, and he was 72 days clean. And on Monday before he died, this is 1 week before his court date, that Monday, because I put him what I thought was in a safe place with my mom and my sister, because we all dispersed for work and school and we didn't want him alone. So I visited him every single night, and I knew that Monday of the 30th of January, okay, or the 26th of January, because it was my husband and I 30th anniversary, and we were supposed to go out to dinner, and my sister called me and said, I need you to get here now. You got to take him somewhere because he just tried to break into the safe. And I'm like, ooh, that's a probation violation. She said he got through 2 locks of the triple lock safe to get to my 82-year-old's mom's medication because he was struggling, and I knew he was struggling. So I called the police. 3 officers showed up, and I said, he's got 14 charges pending against him, and he's due back in court Monday, a week from today. Please take him back. They didn't even bother to go and look up his record. And I said, I'm standing here. He just admitted to you that yes, he did break into the safe. Yes, I did this. That's criminal mischief. That's tampering. That is probation violation. He's on probation. He's going back to court on Monday to go to his rehab. Please just take him now. He's not going to make it. You don't know how much he's struggling. As a mother, nobody knows their child better than the mother. And I knew, and he was crying so hard in my arms saying, I'm sorry, Mom, but I just needed something to take that edge off because I just don't want to go back there. And I said, we're on the right path. This is what we need. This is what we need. You're gonna get the help that you need. And this was on a Monday that the police were at the house. And on Wednesday or on Tuesday when I seen him, because I went back up, my sister let him stay. She was crying, don't take him. I said, I don't know where to go with him. I called River City and I said, can I please bring him there? I said, he's already sentenced to 6 months at your facility, but he's not coming there till next Monday, but I need help right now. Please, can I bring him there? And she said, no, he's considered on the street now. He has to go back to the Justice Center. And I said, he's not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it.
Wait a minute. Who did you call?
River City.
Okay. Oh, you called the rehab place.
Yes.
And he wasn't actually supposed to be there yet. Is that right?
Right. He had been sentenced there, but they.
So you were hoping they could take him, I guess, early.
Yes.
And they said he has to go back to the Justice Center. And did you call the Justice Center or did you contact the sheriff's office?
Well, that's when I called the police because I was hoping, because of the breaking into the safe, that they would bring him back here. Because the River City told me that he had to come to their facility from the Justice Center. I said, but they released him from the Justice Center. I mean, how can you? I'm still as confused as ever. Is how can you sentence somebody and then put him on the street?
When they released him, was he the only one they released? Did they release more, or do you know?
I do not know.
Don't know. Okay, so 7 weeks before he's supposed to get in rehab, and they've got to Now, I understand that
he was home about 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay,
yeah,
3 weeks.
He was home about 3 weeks.
I understand that it's nationwide. 76% of the people who call and ask for a bed never get in. Okay, so the fact that in a number of weeks they were going to have a bed for him, and it was going to be there. That's actually a pretty big deal. So before the time came, they released him. He broke in to your mother's safe?
It was my sister's safe where she kept my mother's medication.
But your mother's medication. You called the police. They did not do anything. And how did he die? Tell me how that.
Well, my mother was also on a fentanyl patch.
Okay.
So my sister never even thought to, what can he do with the patch? Put it on him. He wadded it up and put it in his mouth. Anything to take that edge off of counting down those days to come
First
back.
off, what's a fentanyl patch?
She has degenerative arthritis, so it's a very high potent painkiller. It's now what they're lacing heroin with. It's fentanyl.
So she was supposed to wear a patch that had, I guess, a time-released painkiller in.
Over 3 days.
And instead of wearing it for 3 days,
he chewed it.
He chewed it. He rolled it up and chewed it, getting all of it into his system.
It actually, his tox screen was clean because it stopped his heart. He had been clean for so long because he was here and not getting anything. He had been clean for so long that it took such a small amount of anything, and it just stopped his heart.
Stopped his heart. And it was clean 72 days. Okay.
Yeah, he never had a chance.
You're here today at the Hamilton County Justice Center. What is it that you want? Why are you here?
Something needs to change.
What would you like to see the Justice Center do differently?
If you've already sentenced somebody to a facility that you can only get to from here, don't let them out.
Yeah, so actually once they let him loose, he had no way to get into the bed that had been promised.
Right.
Because he had to be here to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Had they kept him, I'd still have my son.
Well, some people call that catch and release. Catch and release, where they are in jail awaiting either trial, treatment, something, and I guess they don't want to let the violent criminals go, so they let the people who are waiting for a room or treatment go to make room. Now, that doesn't make much sense to me.
Not somebody that's struggling like that. I even had called here when he was first here because being from the background he was, you know, my husband and I have been married 32 years. We have 4 children, 2 grandchildren. Alex had so much support. I have 7 brothers and sisters. My brother even offered to do the drug with him and said, dude, let's go get some right now. I'll kick it with you. If you want to keep telling me you don't know what it's like, I'll know what it's like, and we'll do it together. And he said, Uncle Chad, I wouldn't do that to you. He said, you do it to yourself, man. He said, but I wouldn't do it to you. He said, you have no idea. This drug just totally takes over. And it does. It took over and made him into something that he wasn't. And yet I was so hopeful when he came here. And that's awful, you know, oh, thank God he's finally in jail. There's not many parents that'll say, oh, thank God my son is in jail, because I knew that he couldn't get to anything. But yet, you're going to sentence him to 6 months. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I begged the judge, please keep him. And I stood in his courtroom and said, if you let him out of here, he won't be back. I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
Oh.
And yet when I showed up in court 4 days after Alex died, he was still at the morgue. And they asked me, where is he? I said, at the morgue. He goes, oh my God.
So who asked you where your son was?
The judge.
The judge. Mm-hmm. And you said,
at the
judge
morgue
says, who are you? Where's your son? You said.
At the morgue.
And he said.
Just like you told me he would be. He said, how did he get out of here? I said.
The judge didn't know.
Nope. He said, he pointed to somebody in the courtroom, the lady, and said, get me somebody on the phone right now, because I remember this woman. She's been to every court date. She's the one who asked to see the prosecutor and not the defense attorney, and not many parents will do that.
Yeah.
They looked at me like I was nuts when they said, you mean the defense? I said, no, I want to talk to the prosecutor because I know what my son needs. And
so your son, let me get this straight. They had a room, they had to wait, so we'll keep him incarcerated until the room gets available. He's released, and on the day, how many days before he was supposed to appear?
He died on Thursday. 4 days.
4 days before he's supposed to appear. And when you go in and tell the judge he's in the morgue, the judge didn't know he had been released.
No, he did not.
Wow.
He said, somebody get somebody on the phone right now and tell me how this happened. And when he explained it, he couldn't apologize enough. He said, I remember you. You've been in my courtroom every time. You're the one that asked to speak to the prosecutor and not the defense attorney, when most parents want the defense attorney. I'm like, not this one.
I understand overcrowded. I understand that. But if people, it seems to me that if people have been sentenced to serve a time, it is the sheriff's job to find them a place to serve it.
Absolutely.
Not to let them go. I mean, and
right.
Especially if a judge has ordered, if that's a court order, the judge has ordered something.
It was court ordered.
The Hamilton County Justice Center, which is ran by the county sheriff, if they decide, or the county sheriff decides, or somebody decides to just ignore the judge and let them go.
Yep.
And 4 days before he was supposed to report to have the room, 4 days before the room was available, he died of an overdose.
Absolutely. You got it in a nutshell.
I just can't imagine. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.